Pressure is definitely mounting on Ismael. A loss this weekend may just be it for him.
It's going to be massive to them trying to fill those aspirations of maybe breaking into the top six.
A win for either of these teams this weekend will be a massive, massive boost in terms of who actually does win the title. I think we've done about 3 different shows in the past few days, and you seem to have changed your mind each time.
It's hard to make your mind up on this game. I seem to remember I was growing up in that sort of years of him playing for QPR, and he had this blue and white mohawk.
It was the epitome of sick bowl on the head. There you go. And he looked like Nedved. Has he replicated Nedved's career so far? No, he is only 20 though, so there's still time to see if he can be the next Pavel Nedved. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Stopwatch. It's the championship show with a wee old twist. It's 5 topics, a 2-minute timer, and 2 hosts. We're Ryan and Justin from the Second Tier podcast. Let's get right into it, JP. With 1 win in 6, is the pressure mounting on West Brom's value in Ismael?
I think it is. I think given the fan unrest in recent weeks at their style of play and the lack of results showing for that style of play, you can assume that, pressure is starting to mount on Ismael. I think the gap that's been created between West Brom and the top 2 is also going to add some pressure to that. And also the fact that he's not getting the best out of individuals at the club. Very good squad at West Brom and not quite performing. So, yeah, definitely pressure is building.
I'd agree with that. I think I've seen reports anyway saying that the pressure is building on Ismael. I think many people in the West Brom hierarchy were expecting him to be, in and around the top 2. But the fact of the matter is they look like they're drifting away from it at the moment. And there are teams aside from Fulham and Bournemouth who look more likely to challenge for the top 2 than them, which, considering the squad they've got, simply isn't good enough, as you quite rightly say.
Yeah, it's a top squad, and it's a squad that if they're not competing to finish in the top 2, they should be a lot closer to it and giving Bournemouth and Fulham a lot more, putting a lot more pressure on them, and they're not doing that. And teams that are around them, QPR, they've overtaken them with their latest results. West Brom simply must be doing better, and Ismael will know that. But how does he go about that? He's got Alex Mount back. Defense is looking healthy in terms of personnel. Forwards have rarely been injured. So what is going wrong?
Well, with his style of play, it's one of them, isn't it, where you've got to get results. If the style of play is not great, but you're getting results on the board, it's fine. I think fans can let that slide. But because results have started to not go their way and the style of football isn't great, it's not a good mix. And I can understand why West Brom fans are frustrated. And also, I don't think he's getting the best out of those forward players. So the pressure is definitely mounting on Ismael. A loss this weekend may just be it for him. Who knows? Because from what the reports are saying that I'm seeing, it may very well be the case. Let's move on to their opponents, Justin. Coventry, what's the question?
It's an interesting one. After only 2 wins in their last 9, are Coventry having a little wobble?
They are having a little wobble, especially going forwards. I think defensively they're not as bad as as bad. I don't think they're any worse than they were not too long ago. But going forwards, I don't think there's any debates that they're not as good. Victor Gyökeres's form has dropped. They're not scoring as many goals as they did. Chance creation is down. So that's where the concerns lie. But at the same time, Coventry, we've got to remember the expectations that we had at the start of the season and many other people had for them at the start of the season. They've completely surpassed that. So they are having a wobble. It was always going to be incredible for them to, maintain their good start throughout the season. So I don't think this is unexpected. They could easily turn it around, though. It's just a matter of getting back to how they were going forwards.
They are in a very good place to turn it around. It's a very good point to make. I think the fact that they're not losing games and confidence isn't dipping is a key factor. But for me, they are in that category of underperforming. They set high expectations in the first 10 games. I think since that 5-0 defeat to Luton, they've only scored more than 1 goal in 4 games in that time. And obviously, if you're being pegged back against teams, if you're conceding goals, you're drawing games. If you're not losing them, you're definitely drawing them. And Coventry have only won, as the stats say, two wins in their last 9. They should be doing better, I think. And for that reason, I think they are underperforming.
Well, they are the slow starters in the division, aren't they? Because they have won the most points from losing positions, which is an impressive stat and shows that they've got the togetherness and the determination to try and regain results when things aren't going their way. But on the other hand, they're letting in goals earlier than they should be. So it's a two-way street, really, for that one. Which player are you most looking forward to watching in the second half of the season, Justin? Who are you tipping to finish the year strong?
Yeah, this is an interesting one. I'm looking forward to seeing Tyree Stolen in the second half of the season. I think he's had a quiet first half of the season compared to last season. His form dipped in the tail end of the season compared to now, where he's not really picked up that form. And I think with the likes of Ben Brereton Diaz, a lot of speculation on the future of him. Dolan's going to be a very important player for Blackburn in the second half of the season, and for me, he's going to be massive to them trying to fill those aspirations of maybe breaking into the top six.
In flashes, he's shown himself to be a really, really good player, hasn't
Hmm.
he? He can run with the ball, he can score goals, he can create chances. He is the ideal winger and even striker because he has played up top
Yeah,
on many occasions this season, hasn't he? It is just about consistency. But he has shown in flashes that he's a really, really good player. Still so young as well. So
exactly.
if he can build upon that and given himself more chances in the first team, if Brereton Diaz were to go, he could be a key player for them in the second half of the season. I'm going to go for another Tyrese. I'm going Tyrese Campbell, someone who I've always been a big fan of, but we haven't really seen in 2020 thus far because he has
Hmm.
been injured for so long. He came back a few weeks ago. He's been getting back his fitness and he has been featuring in the team more recently, but we haven't really seen the Tyrese Campbell of old. I think it's only a matter of time before we see him again because he was absolutely quality, wasn't he, last season, Justin?
He was. He's a deadly finisher. His movement is incredible, and we've seen with his goal not too long ago, a couple of weeks ago, that he's got the ability to take players on and put the ball in the back of the net. He's got the end product. It's just getting back that fitness and confidence that he's obviously going to lack because of such a big injury. But yeah, good shout. I love Tyrese Campbell.
He's going to be so important for Stoke as well, considering
Hmm.
they've lost Harry Suter for the rest of the season. The emphasis now is them on scoring more goals than the opposition, which is obviously the key to any football match, but even more important now, considering they're a lot weaker than they are at the back now. Justin, Bournemouth v Fulham this weekend. What's the question surrounding that?
Is it already a title decider, and how do you see it planning out?
I don't think it is a title decider, to be honest. I think the race for the top two, I've been banging the drum now that the race for the top two looks to be over already. Um, I don't think it is completely. I'd say it's about 90% done at the moment because they have shown recently that there are flashes of weakness in
Hmm.
these two teams, but I think it could only be a matter of time before they get back on track. So I think that could be remedied again soon. Is it a title decider? I don't think so. I think there's still a long way to go in the season before this can be a title decider. They're still so close to each other in terms of points, but there is no underestimating a win for either of these teams this weekend will be a massive boost in terms of who actually does win the title.
Yeah, completely agree. I think a title side is probably too far on one end of the spectrum, but I think both teams are going through sort of quite awkward patches where they've dropped points, they're missing players. Fulham have had this illness run through the squad. Bournemouth are missing a lot of players through injury. Obviously, Lerman's going to be suspended for this game. This is going to be a game where the strength in depth is going to be on show. Whoever's got the better players within their squad, I think will come out on top, and I think that's going to be a good marker for the season and where these two teams are at. So not quite a title decider, but certainly in that ballpark.
How do you see it panning out?
I honestly, I fancy Bournemouth to nick a 1-0 win. They're gonna defend deep, and I think that's a good way of getting a result against Fulham.
I think we've done about three different shows in the past few days, and you seem to have changed your mind each time,
It's
Justin.
hard to make your mind up on this game. It's so even, and honestly, I think it's going to be between Solanke and Mitrovic. Whoever's on top here is going to get the win.
I think Fulham to win. I think they probably have got the better team, and they're also not as badly damaged by injuries. So yeah, Fulham for me. And finally, Justin, favourite part of the show. It's the second tier retro. The question this week is this: who had the best haircut in Championship history?
I'm going deep in the archives for this one. QPR's Mark Bircham. I seem to remember I was growing up in that sort of years of him playing for QPR, and he had this blue and white mohawk while he was with Rangers, and it is something spectacular. And I think he set a trend for for spiky hair amongst footballers, which you don't expect to happen in the lower divisions. So Mark Bertram, blue and white mohawk, all the way.
I can't argue with that, Justin. There's no topping that, I'm afraid. That is just the epitome of best haircuts in Championship history. One haircut that really stood out for me, I'm not really sure why, was that Luca Connell, who used to play for Bolton. He's still only 20 years old, but he's now at Celtic. The only reason I remember him is because I used to watch him and think to myself, that's Pavel Nedved. Because he looked like Pavel Nedved with his haircut. That's the only thing I can really come across. Could you remember Connell at all?
Yeah, well, I think he only made about 15 or 16 appearances in that season where Bolton couldn't see out their fixtures. So it's very difficult to remember, but I do. It's like a bowl haircut, isn't it? Very Nedved-like, and did glide like Nedved at times as well, which is why Celtic brought him in. He was a handy little player.
He was a very handy player, but a really bowl haircut. It was the epitome of sick bowl on the head. There you go. And yeah, he looked like Nedved. Has he replicated Nedved's career so far? No, he is only 20 though, so there's still time to see if he can be the next Pavel Nedved. And that wraps it up for episode 12 of the Stopwatch. Justin, happy 12th birthday to the Stopwatch. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Drop us a like if you've enjoyed, and please subscribe for more content like this. Make sure, by the way, you tell us who you think is the best haircut ever in the Championship. I'm really interested to see if we've got to see next. I feel like we've missed someone. We surely have. Anyway, we've been the Second Tier Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at Second Tier Pod. I'm Ryan Dilks1. That's Justin Peach 27 on Twitter as well. We'll be back very soon, and thank you for watching.